right, before we get started, I just want to say that I knew it. I knew it. I told y'all that this chick was no good. I said that she was just as dirty as the chief, but we're going to get right into it. This interview was just a one-on-one exclusive interview with Jeffrey Maddrey, the chief of police in New York, or former chief of police because he's resigned by now, right? But this interview is about 4 minutes and 47 seconds long. I'm going to do my best to let the entire thing play before I get into my diatribe on this. But I told y'all, I knew that woman, Quathisha, I knew that Quathisha wasn't worth a damn. I told y'all that Quathisha was a thought from the streets, and I knew that she was out here doing something strange for a piece of change. But we're going to get right to it. Let's get to this interview.
Now, a News 4 exclusive. Earlier, I sat down with the NYPD's former chief of department, Jeffrey Maddrey, 1 week after he abruptly quit in the face of graphic, salacious reports that he demanded sex from a subordinate in exchange for generous overtime pay and other perks. Those allegations coming from a member of his office, Lieutenant Quathisha Epps, who described him as a predator and demanded sex from her and other favors since he was elevated to chief of department. This is just the latest bombshell involving the upper ranks of the NYPD and Maddrey's first interview since the scandal surfaced. He says he wanted to share his side of the story.
And I just wanted to come out and just stand up for myself and tell everyone that these accusations are not true.
Well, let's get into a little bit and ask about the one that is making the most headlines. Did you force sexual favors from a subordinate, NYPD Lieutenant Quathisha Epps, starting in June 2020?
I'm sorry, y'all. I know I said I was going to let this whole thing play. I'm sorry, okay? I apologize. But fellas, I just have a simple question for y'all. Let me take the captions off so we can see her face clearly. Fellas, I have a question for y'all. Is this a face that you would risk your six-figure paying salary for? Let me ask it again. Gentlemen who are watching this, some of the ladies too, is this someone that you would risk your six-figure paying salary for? That's all I'm going to ask. I'm not saying nothing. I'm not saying nothing about nothing. I'm just asking a simple question. Okay, we're going to get back to the interview. I said I wasn't going to stop it. I'm sorry. We're going to get back to it right now.
23. She's a ranking officer. Did you force that in exchange for overtime approval and other perks signed off by you?
Absolutely not.
What happened here?
Me and Lieutenant Epps, we worked together. Starting in early 2022. We were together, working together for about a year and a half, and we were working together. One thing led to another. We had an office fling, and that's all it was an office fling.
Consensual relationship, you're saying?
Absolutely consensual.
How long did that last?
We had got together a couple of times. There was really nothing to it. There was no romance. We weren't girlfriend and boyfriend. We had an office fling, and that's all it was.
You're the chief of department. Some may look at that and say, it may have been consensual, but you had far-reaching powers and this was a subordinate. Do you think that was appropriate?
It wasn't appropriate for me to be in a relationship with anyone.
And so let me be clear. You're saying that you had a consensual relationship with Ms. Epps. And that she's essentially lying in this EEOC complaint. What do you think her motivation is to do this now?
Would you mind if I answered that? Because, what happened here seems to be that Lieutenant Epps is under investigation internally by the NYPD since October. And the allegations are that not only was she putting in for excessive overtime, but that she was actually putting in for overtime that she had not completed or done, so that she was effectively stealing time. So when she put in her retirement papers, 2 days later, the NYPD suspended her. And they suspended her because of suspicion that she had committed a crime, which is stealing overtime from the NYPD.
It was abrupt. Yes. And some would say, well, if you didn't feel you did anything wrong, why did you leave so abruptly?
Mm-hmm. Well, there was a couple of things going on when I made the decision. I was already making a decision, and it was really weighing heavy on my mind. I was entering 35 years, almost completing 35 years of city service. I knew that I was going to have to fight, and I didn't want to have the constraints of the police department, being the chief of the department, holding me back from fighting properly for my innocence. When you're in the police department, I can't say certain things. I can't do certain things. I have to have the Chief Maddrey persona. When you talk about my work speaks for itself. Driving down crime as the chief of the department, all right? What I've done out there in the communities, what I've done in Brooklyn North, all right? I have given so much to the city, so much, and I've never asked anyone for anything in return, all right? Countless people who can never repay me for what I've done for them, all right? And I've never looked for repayment, not even from the lieutenant. So for her to try and spin a story like this is very hurtful because I've given so much to the people of this city.
During our conversation and during a press conference today with select members of the media, the former chief and his lawyer claim they have evidence backing up their statements the relationship with Lieutenant Epps was consensual, and they say it includes intimate text messages and images. We've reached out to Lieutenant Epps 3 times today. We've not heard back, but her legal team did respond to the Associated Press, saying Maddrey's lawyer's admission the former chief had a sexual relationship with Epps undercut a previous statement denying every aspect of the allegations. And, quote, "We have a treasure trove of digital data that will hopefully bring this degenerate to justice." The NYPD also responded, saying they take allegations of sexual misconduct seriously and will thoroughly investigate.
All right, so that was one piece of this, right? So basically, we just heard all of the information from him, right? He said that, hey, listen, it was a consensual sexual relationship was what I said in the first video. I didn't believe her off rip. I told y'all from the get-go that it didn't sound right. You've been benefiting for a year, they said she was benefiting from overtime pay, right? Come to find out, she wasn't even doing nothing for the overtime. Well, she was doing something. But listen, she wasn't even doing anything work-related to get that overtime pay. And I told y'all it sounded funny off the rip. I knew it was a lie. I knew that she had to have been down for the cause, on her knees, at her own discretion, that whole entire time. But now, because she's under investigation, now all of a sudden you want to bring charges up against the chief. Now you want to bring charges up against the NYPD force. Now you want to bring charges up against everybody who you feel like wronged you. But the whole time you was taking peen to the mouth and every other orifice. The entire time, it wasn't a problem. But now, all of a sudden, now that we done disrupted your pay, now that we're investigating you because you done had all these fraudulent, it's fraud. That's what it is. They're investigating fraud. There's real penalties behind this. So these allegations against Quathisha is very, very serious. But let's get to the other part of this, where they go into a little bit more detail about what Quathisha was doing with the chief. What the LT was doing with the chief.
And Jeffrey Maddrey appearing alongside his attorney today to respond to the sexual misconduct allegations against him.
Yeah, they say that they are lies and are denying every aspect of them. Fox 8's Jessica Formosa joins us live from Lower Manhattan, where their news conference actually just wrapped up. Jessica, what's the very latest?
Yeah, Natasha, that's right. It's been almost a week since NYPD Chief of Department Jeffrey Maddrey resigned after those sexual misconduct allegations came to light. Now today, for the first time, he appeared publicly with his attorney at his attorney's office here in Lower Manhattan. He did not take any questions, did not say a word. All the speaking was done by his attorney. He stood there with a serious face. Now take a look. This is the moment that they came into that conference room, which was filled with reporters. Right off the top, his attorney said, quote, "Those allegations are a lie. They are not true. We deny every aspect of that." As we've been reporting, Lieutenant Quathisha Epps filed a complaint against the city, claiming that Maddrey engaged in quid pro quo sexual harassment, that he allegedly forced her to perform unwanted sexual favors in exchange for overtime. Now, Maddrey's attorney saying here today that their relationship was consensual, even saying that he has evidence, racy sexual videos and text messages messages that Lieutenant Epps sent to Maddrey, saying that she was the one initiating their sexual relationship. His attorney also saying that the former chief never approved her overtime or any other police officers' overtime because he has nothing to do with OT, saying that every officer has to fill out what's called a slip.
Who does then?
That slip has to be signed
By who?
by a supervisor. That supervisor is never a chief. There are people within chiefs' offices who are tasked with making sure that slips are appropriate and have to be approved. Jeff never approves, assigns, or gives overtime.
Now, Maddrey's attorney says that they are prepared to fight this case. He went on to say that he is going to clear his, quote, good name. We reached out to the Lieutenant Epps' attorney. We are still waiting to hear back.
All right, so y'all heard it. A couple things here to take from this, right, to glean from this. Man, I can't stop. I can't not talk about this enough. Listen, I know that the coochie is enticing, all right? I get it. I understand. I'm a man, okay? I get it, right? However, when you are talking about your career, your livelihood, your likeness, and who you are, all at risk because you decided to bust these cheeks down, then you gotta be able to take a second, third, and fourth look at this situation and be like, you know what? It's not worth my career. It's not worth my six-figure salary paying job. It's not worth my name. It's not worth all the work that I've done and put into my career, into my field. You have to be able to do that, gentlemen. You gotta be able to do it. I'm sorry. I know. I get it. I'm there with you. I'm a man. I understand. Women are beautiful. They're soft. They're lovely. I get it. But this one, you could have chucked. Never mind. Listen, that's not the point. Quathisha, is under serious duress right now. It's no wonder that she don't want to take any interviews with anybody because she already likely knows that whatever she says is going to be severely scrutinized in the public eye and behind closed doors on the police force, which I believe she is still currently a lieutenant, right? Now, she was trying to get up out of there. She was trying to, I believe she was trying to file for her to go ahead and enter into her retirement phase. So where she was get her pension, she would get all this money, right? And then they started investigating. I think that she knew, okay? She knew that she was under investigation for fraud, for stealing time. That's fraud. And then you're applying, they said, if y'all remember the last video, this woman made almost $500,000, y'all, in 1 year. Now, my question is, if the chief didn't sign off on that overtime, who did? That's my question. If the chief didn't sign off on that OT, who did? So now you got a bigger investigation that's taking place, which means it's just even more of the taxpayers' dollars going into it, which means that y'all got to pay for this. The New Yorkers, y'all got to pay for this trial. Y'all got to pay for this investigation. Y'all got to pay for a new chief. Y'all got to pay for all these lawsuits that's going on. You see how it's a domino effect that really benefits nobody? It really benefits nobody. It benefits no one. Because now you got this huge scandal going on that has to be paid for. Somebody got to foot that bill, right? But what I said in the first video comes to fruition. You see it right here. This chick is a swinger. She nasty. She a freak. She a big freak. Quathisha is a freak, y'all. Now, and then you getting mad because you were taking that freaky behavior into the NYPD. You done got this man to bust your cheeks open, and now you mad because all of a sudden it's done came back and falling back on you, and there's an investigation going on. They start looking at, wait a minute, hold on. How did you make $400,000 in 1 year, $500,000 in 1 year? And now you mad. But she was a swinger. They said they got text messages, racy text messages, saying where she was the aggressor. I'm all for men fighting for themselves. I'm all for men fighting for themselves, fighting for their livelihood, fighting for their careers, fighting for, who they are, fighting for their namesake. I'm all for that. So kudos to him for that. However, at the same time, you got to be held accountable for the things that you've done, sir. Chief Cheeks, you got to be held accountable as well. You can't be in the department busting open cheeks. And then they said that she wasn't the only one. She's probably the only one stupid enough to come forward and try to open up her mouth and blow the whistle, right? But there's probably other chicks in there that's been involved with this dude as well. Hopefully, he better be praying to God right now that nobody else comes forward. Because that will be the end of him for sure, for certain. It's already over for him. But this could get a lot worse. Y'all let me know what y'all think down in the comments about Chief Cheeks and Quathisha Cheeks. And I look forward to seeing what y'all got to say. But what I said has come to pass. I knew it. I knew that Quathisha was down and dirty. I just didn't know that she was a freak like this. See y'all in the next one.